Hello and welcome to Late Start Piano. My name is Josh LaFleur and I am your host, and today we're going to be going over expression in music, what that means, how you should be practicing it, and why it matters so much. So when it comes to expression is so important. I would even argue that it's even more important than just your technical abilities to play a piece. And as I'll show you in a second with my example, expression really gives your playing character. It gives it the emotional quality, and that's what music is all about, right? That's why music exists, is because of the emotion and the way it makes people feel. So when you play the piano or any instrument, if you're not really able to convey an emotion, you're not able to have your audience feel anything emotionally, then you're going to be at a plateau. You're not going to be able to rise to a higher level of piano playing because you're going to be restricted to your technical ability. That includes even if you are the most technical, proficient pianist in the world. Your hand coordination has no issue. You can move up and down at lightning speed. You can play all your scales at 250 beats per minute. You can do your arpeggios at 300 beats per minute. None of that really matters if you can't express the music that you're playing. And again, I'm going to show you an example of that in a second. Another thing I want to go over here quickly is expression is kind of the umbrella category, and then you have a bunch of other terms that go underneath that. So you have expression as a whole, and that includes things like articulation, includes things like accent, and includes things like your rhythm, your tempo, your dynamics, which is huge, right? Your dynamics just being the volume that you're playing. All of those things fall under the umbrella of expression in music, okay? So this video is really going to be focused on tempo and dynamics. So tempo, just how fast or how slow you're playing, and dynamics is how loud or how soft that you are playing, right? So just to kind of show you the different dynamics, we can play forte, which means loud, right? It's one version of loud, and that might sound like this. It's pretty loud, right? Then we can also play pianissimo, which means quiet. Right? Same exact note. But we can play it at all these different ranges of volume, and that's the term for dynamics. And this gives pieces so much emotion, again, which I'm going to show you here in a second, but just wanted to give you that overall view. And the piece I'm going to show you this is with Für Elise. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but just the beginning. And I'm going to play it right now, and this way I'm going to play it is with no dynamics, no tempo changes, and no expression. And then I'm going to play it a second time with all of those things. So here's the first time with no expression, no dynamics, and no tempo changes. Right, so I'll just play that part. But as you can hear, I'm sure already, it sounds okay, right? I mean, you recognize the piece. You understand that that's Beethoven. It's a very famous piece, right? Everybody knows that, even if you don't play the piano, just this part alone, right? People know that piece immediately. So you hear the piece, but you can't really get past that. You're not feeling anything when I play that. You recognize the piece, logically you understand what it is, and you might say, that sounds decent, it sounds pretty good, but it's not really conveying any emotion. Now, I'm going to kind of play around with the dynamics and the tempo, and let me know if you can hear the difference. Here we go. Right? And even though it's not perfectly solid technique-wise, and even though, of course, it can be improved, already, with just those dynamic changes and the tempo changes, it sounds so much better. Right? We start loud or start soft, then we got a little bit louder, and then we went right back down. A little bit of a hold, and then nice and quiet. Then we get loud. Kind of hold this. Right? And it makes such a huge difference in all of your playing. It doesn't matter what you play. If you play classical music, if you play rock and roll, it doesn't really matter. Even if you take something like Yesterday by the Beatles, we can play it like this. Right, that sounds okay. Again, you probably recognize that song, very famous song, Yesterday by the Beatles. Or we can also play it like this. Right? And it's just a slight difference. You don't have to go crazy with this and crazy with the rubato. Rubato just meaning the slowing up and speeding up of the tempo. So it's not like you're at this metronomic pace, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you noticed in both of those, I kind of held certain notes for a little bit longer than they are written, right? And maybe I sped up a little bit of notes that are supposed to be longer. That's called rubato. You're just kind of playing with the time, playing with the tempo of the piece. But in both of those examples, I'm sure already, you can tell that the dynamics and the tempo and just the overall expression matters so much. So with all that said, how can you actually go about implementing this? How can you go about practicing this and making sure that your tempo and your dynamics are good to go so that you can express the emotional part of the piano and not just play the notes that are written, but actually put some energy and some emphasis on the music that you're playing? Well, first of all, I would suggest if you're brand new to the piano, you just put your thumb on your right hand on this middle C and put all of your 5 fingers right in a row. Right? So all the white notes. And what you can do is try to play as loud as you can. And you play louder, by the way, by pressing down on the key faster. So the faster you press down on the key, the louder it's going to be. The slower you press down, the quieter it's going to be. And of course, the challenge with this is with faster parts, like the Fur-Elise, it can be tough to play faster and also quiet at the same time. Especially for beginners, what tends to happen is the faster the piece, the louder you end up playing, and it's more like you're banging on the keys, right? Instead of just playing them normally. And it's a skill. It's a skill that you have to develop. It's a skill that a lot of beginners don't possess, and it's a skill that even professional piano players can always develop and can be improved. So I would suggest first you just go 1 finger at a time. You can start with the thumb, is fine. Play as loud as you possibly can. Then you can play as quiet as you can. And then try to go higher in the volume that you play. So loud, then you can go soft, and then try to get a little bit louder. Right? And then you can do the same thing. Once you get the loudest point, drop in volume a little bit. A diminuendo is another term for that. So here's the loudest. And just try to get it as incremental as possible. So try not to, if you can, play super loud and then super quiet. Try to have like 3 or 4 different levels of volumes in there until before you get to the quietest or the loudest volume, right? And of course, you're going to do that with all 5 fingers. So same thing with the right hand, with your finger number 2, your index. You can start really quiet, slowly get louder. and then go back down. And of course, you do that with all 5 fingers, just going up. And then you can do the same thing with the left hand. So left hand, you can put your pinky on this C, here's middle C, here's the C below that, and do the same thing. Start loud or quiet, doesn't matter, and slowly go up or down. Right? And left hand is more difficult for me, might be for you as well. But something that needs to be worked on. The same thing, especially once you get to like your ring fingers in either hand. Those are typically your weaker fingers and you don't have as much control over those, so it's going to be even more difficult. Right? And you just keep going all the way up. And then once you get a little bit better, what you can really do, which is really difficult, is you can use both hands. You can use your pinky in this hand and your thumb in this hand and try to play them at the same volume and slowly go down again. Trying to keep them at the same volume. And then you can always switch it. You can try to play your right hand loud, your left hand soft, or the other way around. And this is very, very difficult to do. And then you can try to switch it, play your left hand loud and your right hand quiet. Very difficult to do. Right? Something I'm still working on as well. But again, it's a work in progress for everybody. So you can always try those things. You can do both hands. You can also, if you just want to focus on one hand, you can do with your right hand, put your thumb on F and then your pinky on D. So you're playing a sixth, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can try to play your pinky loud and your thumb soft. And this is very, very difficult to do. It's going to take you a long time to be able to do that, but all the master piano players, that's something that they can do. They're always working on this control in their playing. And then what's going to happen is once you start playing different chords, right? And you start playing, like let's say we take C major in root position, and then, or maybe the root fifth and the root, and then we play this with the right hand in first inversion. So we have this big, wide C major chord, right? You can start voicing different notes. So maybe this note you want to be the highest, you want to be the loudest. And then you try to make this note the loudest. It's very, very difficult to do, right? And then you get the point, but you can keep going down, trying to make certain notes stick out above all the other notes. Very difficult to do. I would suggest just starting one finger at a time, like I showed you in the beginning. And then you can do this one. You can do one finger in the right hand and one finger in the left hand, try to make them the same volume, and then change it and go from there. But that's going to be such a big piece for your playing. It's going to be such a game changer once you're able to get this down, or even once you're starting to improve at this. And you're going to notice that your playing sounds much, much better and much more professional sounding, instead of just playing everything at one volume all the way through with no changes in your expression. So with all that said, I am offering lessons right now via Zoom. You can get started with those by sending me an email. That email address is down below. I also have a free PDF. It has 34 essential tips for the late start piano player. Doesn't matter really how old you are, but if you're starting piano later in life, then this is going to really help you get started on the right track. I am also offering a webinar that is going to be at the end of every month. It's basically going to be a free lesson, just an hour long. It's going to be the last Saturday of every single month at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So to get started with that and get on the list and get into that webinar, you can go to latestartpiano.com/webinar and you can sign up on that page. With all that said, happy practicing. My name is Josh LaFleur with Late Start Piano.